I think that the real piece that a lot of folks are missing is as people are looking at your LinkedIn, they're not dumb. They're connecting those dots. They want to actually believe that you are somebody who is helping other people in the industry. So one of those telltale signs is how many recommendations are you writing for other people?
Welcome to It Gets Late Early. Today I have my friend and career strategist, Loren Greiff. She's also a podcaster. She has a great podcast called Career Blast and a Half. You may or may not have seen me on that show in the past, but she is an absolute force. We got to know each other over LinkedIn over the course of the last probably year and a half. And she is out there fighting the fight against ageism for job seekers over 40. She's placing people in roles that are the roles of their dreams and helping people get out of their own way. Loren, I'm so excited you're here.
Maureen, seriously, my sister from another mister. I'm happy to be here and long time coming and worth every second of the wait.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. So let's kick off. I mean, you have had quite an interesting life, a different sort of path. And what are the things that really struck me about you? I mean, there's so many things, but one thing that really jumped out at me recently was I read one of your posts, and Loren is a prolific poster on LinkedIn. And she did this post that was really resonant and just knocked you right in the gut. She had a picture of herself with making basically like a strong, like a flexing her muscle pose while enduring cancer treatment. And the post itself said something pretty interesting to me. It said, I'm quoting you here, Loren. It said, most people don't have kind things about cancer, but I do, which made me think, wow. And you also reportedly spent about nearly $1 million on your cancer treatment, and yet you seem to have only essentially gratitude for it. So can you tell us about this whole situation and how you came to have this sort of perspective?
Yes, I'm happy to share it. And I want you to understand that there is a tie-in to this topic today with respect to this. So please, if you're thinking, this is going to be like, a pity party,
we'll land it. I promise.
That's not even part of it. So I think what I remember saying is that a lot of people don't have a lot of kind things to say about cancer. And, I use this and I shared this because most people don't think their transitions have a lot of kind things to say either. And it's tough, it's brutal, it's challenging. But what I didn't share in that post, which I'll share now, and why I think it actually helped me in so many ways, is I gamified cancer. I gamified it because I knew it was going to take a long time, and it was also not going to be so fun. So I built in reward systems throughout this. So for example, like with all of my chemo treatments, I decided to make it a party, right? I would invite people that I hadn't seen in a while and ask them if they would be willing to come to my 7 hours and 43-minute protocol. And, that way we could hang out. And then afterwards, since my side effects weren't going to show up for 2 days, we could do something fun. We could go see a show. We could go get a mani-pedi. We could go do all the things and literally have some fun. And so I also had one of those, like I do now, one of these big ass calendars. And I literally played this game. If it was, the first of X many, well, I tell myself I'm, 2/4 of the way through, or I would keep playing these games with myself and Post-its and this and that. So it just helped me to stay in a place where I wasn't looking at the dread. I was looking at what was coming after and building in that forward thinking. And little did I know how relevant it was for so many things. I mean, this was not something that we don't have cancer in our family. It was a surprise. But I think the kindest thing that I have to say about cancer, and probably the most important, is you don't have to have cancer in order to gamify tough things in your life. You don't have to go through all of that. And the money that I spent, honestly, who the F cares? I mean, seriously, I get to live this life now, and I have a reason for being, and I love to celebrate that and celebrate, those wins of my clients too.
Just wow. I mean, I didn't think I could love you anymore, but the fact that you came up with a way to gamify cancer and make it as positive as possible, I think that says so much about you as a person and about the sort of support that you can offer people. That is incredible. You really are making the most of every moment, and to create those opportunities to connect with the people who are near and dear to you, in the aftermath of your chemo treatments while you had those, good days, relatively speaking, like that's pretty much the coolest thing I've heard in a long time. So, especially in these somewhat dark days, I really appreciate that injection of light, which is what you are, Loren. You are unfailingly positive, and I think it's so admirable. And you're absolutely correct that you can take those lessons that you learned and those systems that you developed to help get you through what was probably the worst time of your life, doing chemotherapy and getting through cancer with all the uncertainty and all the fear, and turn as much of it as possible into a positive, and then bring that forward in your life. That is so freaking cool. So thank you. And
Thank you.
it could always be worse. That's one of my favorite sayings. And you figured you were going to make the most of the situation that befell you. And I think that is something that we should all draw inspiration from. So how does that show up in what you do today, which is help people land the roles of their lifetime over age 40?
So how that is a reflection of that snarly, uncertain, fearful, and also costly period of your life is that there is an opportunity to get a sense of, what is this really? Is this a job search that I just have to check a box for? Or do I get to actually go through a process of potential reinvention? Do I get to sign up for that thing that has been missing through my past? And I'm just finally playing around with, you know what? Culture is really more important to me than compensation. I've learned the hard way, because once you get burned by that, then it starts to really sink in. Like, I've already been there, done that. I'm not doing that again.
Oh, yeah.
You have all those pieces of data that you get to coagulate and push forward, so that alignment really does, it does land, right? And I think that it's also very important because this is interesting. I had my sister-in-law, who's a consummate researcher. I delegated doing all the WebMD and whatever other research of my cancer to her.
Wow.
And the reason why was because I didn't want to get distracted with the noise. I didn't want to have all these people, because I had advanced stage 3 colon cancer, and not a lot of people are making it out. And I didn't want to hear that. I just didn't want that noise around me. So I'm like, listen, since you're so good at this, how about you research all these procedures and medications and side effects? And she did.
So you put her on your team, so to speak. You're like, this is your strength.
I delegated that function to her.
So brilliant.
What that meant for me is I got to stay in my lane, which was to follow whatever the suggestions, doctor's orders, rest protocol that was in front of me.
That's so brilliant. Makes so much sense. You're too logical, Loren. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I did that in so many other ways. So if you're in your job search, please find your expert and then follow the protocol.
Yeah.
Because that belief system that I was going to be able to function with all that noise, no can do.
Mm-hmm.
No can do. And I really, really needed to conserve my energy, and I really needed to conserve my mindset, and I really needed to be able to have a plan from the person that I trusted, surgeon, doctor, whoever that is, and just be like, listen. And she would let me know periodically, like, hey, just so you know, you might be feeling this in a couple of days. Good. Let her filter.
Yeah, you don't need all that. I mean, I can tell you as someone who is absolutely a hypochondriac, nothing good comes out of a Google search on WebMD or something like that when it comes to symptoms. Nothing good. And I just go into a spiral of despair. And so I mean, that is so spot on, so brilliant for you to have considered, you know what, let's not, because you
Let's
got to
not.
control what you can control.
Exactly. And so in our world, right, Maureen, there's so much noise that is going on. And that is a derailment away from what those things are that you really, really want to not only do, but you need to be focused on. You don't see an athlete spending, weeks on end distracted by the latest binge on Netflix because they're too busy training because they've got that thing in front of them. And so that's more or less like how I really see that crossover.
So tell me a little bit more about what makes Portfolio Rocket, which is your coaching company, different from other coaching programs that are out there.
I am so glad that you asked this because my last research is on LinkedIn anyway, is that there's basically 27 million coaches on LinkedIn.
27 million?
27 million. Now, they're not all in the career space, but anybody who borrows from coaching, right? Could be a sales coach. It could be a communication coach. It could be a interviewing coach. It could be any one of these, right? Is that I think it's confusing to consumers, to users, to people who have to vet through all of this. What makes us different, first of all, is we really only focus on the executive level and those over 40. So automatically, like I'm not working with folks at the college stage or, maybe early careers. That's
tech
not
founders.
where we go.
Yeah.
We
Who tend
really,
to be like 30. Yeah. Maybe 25.
So we're really focused on people who have been, these are the caveats. These are kind of like the through lines. Chances are they have been in the same job for a considerable period of time. So they're re-entering the market. Maybe they've been, restructured out. Maybe they are at a very high compensation level whereby, they're not in a place where they can defer back to a lot of these old processes because the market has changed and they know that. So this is really about making sure that they are not just in a job search, but they are meeting the market to where it is right now. And that's a very, very important aspect of oftentimes why searches don't move, because we immediately think, oh, damn, I need to update my resume, right? It's a knee-jerk reaction. We don't do that because I don't even know where that thing is going to point. But if you recycle all your wins from before, especially if they're in the past tense, now you're letting that chronology read like an obituary.
Oh my
right?
God. That's a brilliant quote.
And so nobody's hiring for the future with something that's dead. Right. And so we need to revitalize that and push that to a forward facing or tomorrow story that we call it, in our vernacular.
Such an excellent reframe.
Thank you. Thank you.
It really is.
So it's very important that should you want to stay working, and that could be board seat, it could be consultancy, it could be a million things, right? You need to be able to position that deep experience in a way that resonates with the audience of today. So
absolutely.
Really, really, I've seen a lot, and at times a lot of resistance to that. Right. Well, I just want to get hired. Oh, that's why we're here. Right.
That's why we're here.
So our program is end to end. It's very robust. Our executive programs are 6 months. So we are building that step-by-step piece. So not only are you able to land that job, but also rinse and repeat that framework, because you know this and I know this. The change and the churn in the C-suite and all the desk chairs moving at the rapid rate that it is, what do I say, right? There is no job security. There's only career agility.
Yep. Corporate careers, not what they used to be, right?
Not what they used to be.
Kind of dead. You got to be ready to move. Pivot.
Yes. So that's how and why we're different. And I really, really, I just live for my clients' success. I get so geeked up. I do. I really do. I love that. I love that there's nothing that's going to go to waste.
That very much comes through in everything you say and do. And I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for your clients. I mean, I love the way you go about this, which is very real talk. Like you're not sugarcoating anything. Sure, we would all love a world in which we would not have to do all that work, all that emotional and difficult labor to get a job. But the reality is, if you don't, you're probably going to fall into a job, hopefully at some point, that is maybe not right for you. And so often we just take the things that come to us, right? The opportunity that presents itself. I know I myself did that many times. Someone reaches out to you, your old boss or something wants to bring you along with to his new company. And in my case, it was almost always a him, by the way, which is why I'm saying him. It is flattering and you are inclined to want to go do that. But who does that serve? Usually your boss, right? They need work done. And it's not a bad malicious thing at all, but you have to think about like what's really in it for me beyond a paycheck. And is this really where I want to hang my hat and make my career? And I don't think I ever really did that, if I'm being honest with myself, until I left corporate. So it's a necessary component that will get you farther if you just do the work. So I love that approach. And so I want to hear about some of your, maybe if you can pick favorites. I know it's hard to pick favorites, but if you want to share a couple of the client success stories that really, really hit you in the heart, I'd love for our listeners to get that.
I'm going to share one, and I want to just give you another catchphrase I heard this week. When people go back and just like take that first job, one of my latest clients mentioned to me that she called it a rebound job.
Oh, I like that.
Like a rebound relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, I thought of them. So yeah, just watch out for those. Examine
so
your
alluring,
motive.
right? Yeah,
Right?
those rebounds.
So alluring.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay, here's one of my favorite stories, because I think that this will not only resonate with your audience, but it is such real talk. His name is Brad, and Brad came to me and said, listen, I'm male, pale, and stale. And I'm worried because I've just been through a divorce, and, I recently was let go from my company. And I think that I'm kind of getting close to Brad 2.0. But I want to know if you can help me with Brad 3.0. And I said, oh, yeah, for sure. And so this guy is a chemical engineer, not necessarily a vertical I'm horribly familiar with. He also wanted to, this is right around the time of Thanksgiving, and his fiance at the time was very concerned that over the holidays he could leak out that he was not working. So, some of this is very, very emotional, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously dealing with his male, pale, and staleness. He's also in a new relationship. It's also the holiday time. And it's also that he's, coming onto a marketplace where it could be a little slow at the holidays, and you might not get a lot of quick wins.
Yeah.
And I only asked for one thing from him. And I said, are you willing to do the work? Which is pretty much the same question I ask anybody. And he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm like, great, let's go. Well, I think that it was mid-January that he landed a role, and how he landed this role was not through any of the cesspool of applications and applicant tracking system. It was because somebody had seen what his activity was on LinkedIn and reached out, and he assumed that this person was reaching out to him to gather referrals for an open position or just to talk to somebody. It ended up that they were looking for him. He was asked to join the company and then ended up writing his job description after he got hired. So why I tell you this story is also a tenet of our program, which I forgot to mention, which is we don't really work through a lot of the traditional channels. We focus in on the hidden job market, which is where easily 85-90% of all the executive roles are, but not posted.
Right.
And so this is a perfect example of he didn't see it coming. He kept his eye on the prize. He was doing the, all the things. And somebody identified with not only his skill set, and again, not keywords, about his problem solving and how he was building his network and how active he was on the platform. And this is so important as it relates to those who are over 40 and also in the challenge of understanding that experience is not your green card. It's not your go.
No.
It really is dependent on how relevant you are.
Absolutely true.
If you come and tell me you have 30 years of experience, sorry, I'm just going to say, right?
What does that mean?
Everybody at your level has experience.
Right.
Right? That's not a real game changer. If I see you on LinkedIn and I see that you are sharing your intel, you're giving away tips, you're connecting with others, you're showing, now I start to see you're playing along. You're in the game, man. And so he did that. I didn't speak with him yesterday, but another colleague of mine did. And she just said, oh my goodness, I just got off the phone with Brad. He is the happiest person because from that job, he went to another job, did the same thing, and another job found him. He never took his foot off the gas. And this job is even better than the last. And this is only like in 2 years, maybe not even. So,
wow.
And nobody has made age any part of this equation for him. So I'm not saying ageism isn't real. I'm also saying that it is real, which is why we need to also amplify your value and your relevance.
Amen. And what a transformation. Look, you took him from this place of vulnerability and sounds like some shame associated with his jobless status, which is such a problem. And so many people are feeling that so deeply. And I think, men really feel that too. Let's be clear about that. Not that women don't, but, I think if you're in a new relationship going to a Thanksgiving dinner and you have to be like, yeah, I'm her unemployed new boyfriend, it's not a great look. And he knew that and he felt it. And I can only imagine the turmoil he was feeling and how awful that was to have to hide it. But anyhow, for him to go from that place to writing his own job description post-hire, that's a transformation that is nothing short of remarkable. So, wow.
The last text I have for him is he just signs off his text as 6.0.
Oh, wow. That says so much. That's amazing. What an impact that you and your team had. That is so, so cool.
Yeah, we really
fantastic story
about it. Thank you.
And you're right. It really flipping the script of your age being, a liability to an asset is so important. And as you pointed out, like he was able to share all the different skills that he had and could bring to the table in a forward-looking mindset rather than saying, I have 30 years of experience. There's such an incredible difference between those two sorts of ways of approaching the job search. So I think that's really huge that you are inculcating your clients with that mentality. That's everything. That's everything.
It changes a lot for them because it's not there as a gotcha.
Right.
It's not like, ooh, you're not relevant. I'm not like that. Like, just not like
it's
that.
Not you.
But what it is an opportunity because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So
once
true.
You see that, you're just like, oh. But again, so much of this process has been a regurgitation. I mean, we talk about AI. Do you want to be a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy? Right? That's what most executives are still doing. And then what's going to happen, and you know this better than anyone, is as the marketplace and the demographics are shifting and we are in a place where there isn't enough talent coming in, and that audience is growing by 2030. What is it? 1 in 5, right? Over 55. You're going to be in a situation where there are going to be people who were, oh my goodness, seeing this early, and other people that are just going to be like, hey, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to be able to be in that group of people who are already in a position of seeing how this old idea has died off. So early and often, right?
Early and often, such a good approach. So I don't really know probably anyone who is a more adept and skilled, gifted communicator and connector than you, Loren. I mean, you put people together like it's your job. Like it's crazy. I mean, I can't tell you how many times you've reached out and put me together with someone who you thought that I should know for one reason or another. And it's been really incredible for me as your friend. So thank you. But I obviously understand that if you're doing that for me, I'm sure you're doing it for your clients. And you're also probably extolling the virtues of networking as something that can help you land the job you want, right? So talk to us a little bit about your networking capabilities and what you tell your clients when it comes to networking.
All right. So let's just like call this what it is, because I always feel like this gets one of those like
It totally does.
it
Yeah.
totally does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this little epiphany came to me not too long ago, and I think that networking is like the broccoli of business, right? Which basically means like it's good for you, right? It's good for you. You're resisting it because it's like that green like tree-like thing on your plate, and lo and behold, like once you taste a bite, like it's not so bad, especially if you're going to add some like cheese and whatever other
I was gonna
topping on
say
top of it. So
cheese.
it really is like you can try to work around it for as long as you want. Ultimately, you're going to end up getting to a place in your career where it's a non-negotiable. And so
I love that.
it just is what it is. And of course, people come and they have all kinds of reasons why they're not networking. I'm an introvert, I don't like people. I just want to do the work. I mean, like so many good ones, right? And I think that the real piece that a lot of folks are missing is, of course, it's not just for what's in it for you. Like, I don't even want to go there because that's so trite. But what I also want to say is that as people are looking at your LinkedIn, they're not dumb. They're connecting those dots. They want to actually believe that you are somebody who is helping other people in the industry. So one of those telltale signs is how many recommendations are you writing for other people? So they're going to look at that. They're going to look at who you're connected with. They're going to see if you tell me that you're 20 years in whatever career you are, and I see that you only have 1,000 followers. I don't care about the followers for numbers purposes, but what it tells me is you're really not using this platform and you're probably not connected with that many people, right? So those are also indicators when you go and make that networking call that you have kind of like shown up, right? Like now you want something. Now you want something. And what I said in the recent post was, your network doesn't work like a bellhop. When it rings, you're not jumping, right? It doesn't just like go, okay, can't wait to make all these introductions. How can I press forward and align all these referrals for you? So it's like maintenance, like flossing, right? Or paying taxes. There are other things that you're doing in your life that you probably aren't like doing backflips over. But it's a byproduct of what that responsibility comes with as somebody who is in an industry, who says they want to be innovative, who understands, all these things. I want a seat at the table, all these things. Now you got to back it up.
Oh my
and
gosh.
you got to also be able to do this in a way, honestly, again, you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it in a way that really matters, is you want to be one of one. You want to be one of one. You don't want to be that person that is just like, I'm just following up or this or that. One of one means the way that you're approaching this relationship is so unique to the other person. You get them. You care. You notice. You do things without any expectation. I don't have it in front of me, but one of the tips that I share with a lot of my clients is do yourself a favor, buy yourself a box of cards. Like, I don't care what they look like, right? Buy yourself a box of cards. Somebody's going to lose a dog. Somebody is going to, have something happen, gosh forbid, with a friend, a family member, or whatever. Who else is going to send that thank you note or that reminder or that, tap on the shoulder that says, I see you and I'm sorry about what happened. Or, I celebrate the fact that, somebody graduated from junior high or any of those other things. Look for opportunities, not just the rote ones. Look for opportunities to build that network outside and inside of the traditional channels. Those will never be forgotten. And I have people all the time that tell me that they tried stuff like this and they're like, oh my God, they're still talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that that's the best part of your network is that you get to.
Oh, I
You
love
get
that.
to.
You get to.
You
That's
get
the thing. These moments of human connection are so important and they impact all of us. And I think we're all dying for that. I think to be the person who goes out and sends the unprompted, like written mail. I mean, do you know how excited I'd be to get one of those? I mean, that is so cool. And you're absolutely right. It makes you one of one. And you get so much out of it too. It's like it's spreading around this really lovely energy that I think we need a lot more of. So I think that's excellent advice, along with, of course, eating your broccoli and flossing your teeth. So that's
yes, thank
we need
you.
and what you're doing.
Yeah, all these things. I mean, they're, I always get a little salty when people are like, well, I can't afford your services. It's like, okay, well, like feel free to use everything that's free here. Like I'm not stopping you from taking some of this stuff, right?
Right.
So use all of the the things that you learn. I was saying this earlier today, right? This old line. I already know that. I already know that. Information and knowledge, those are a dime a dozen, right? You might not hear a new idea today or any day, right? Now, what I want you to do is implement it for the transformation, right?
Yeah.
That's where
Talk is cheap, baby. Talk is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that approach. And I don't think that I've ever heard that before. So I'm definitely learning today. So thank you for that. Speaking of learning, I recently listened to your podcast and there was something about like a whale and a swordfish. Can you enlighten those who have not actually heard the episode, although they should?
This is under something that I recently learned that I really like this idea. I'm like big on having like a sticker in my head, like that thing. And this came from a seminar that I recently went to. And the idea is that doubt is death, right? Doubt is death. Every time you're stuck in that spin cycle of, I don't know, what about this and what about that? So the antidote to doubt is certainty, right? It's certainty. And the idea came to me that how do you get to certainty, right? If the Holy Grail is certainty and I'm not feeling so certain in an uncertain market, how do I get to certainty? And so what we see a lot of time is that the people that get to a level of certainty and they do it well and they do it at a good clip are behaving like a swordfish and not a whale. And so swordfish are known for slicing, right? They got that big schnoz and they like have that thing going on with all the teeth.
They're fierce,
And
right?
they're
Pretty
fierce.
Yeah.
And they're slicing. And then what's interesting about this slice is it builds that forward momentum, that acceleration, and it channels energy towards their target. So it's not just busy work for busy work, right? Swordfish are like, they are some smart fish. And they have a real direction. And we hear this in a different way. Oh, you need to take more action. You need to take more action. But whales take action too. The difference is that they just circle the same action over and over and over again in those
belly flop
patterns. Yeah, they're like deliberating endlessly. So you need to create that flywheel. You need to create that flywheel. And if you are not creating it on a daily basis, often happens, and it doesn't always have to be in the same direction, right? Like sometimes you make like you're on a spiritual flywheel. Sometimes you're on like some kind of, career flywheel, or right now, like I'm just hoping to get on a sleep flywheel. And seriously. And what that does though is it it doesn't leave a lot of room for deliberating. Because and again, this is not just busy work to fill the time or because you're anxiety. It's because you're learning and integrating and learning and integrating and learning and integrating. So like one of the questions that we ask a lot of our clients is open up your calendar, put it on screen. How many network calls are on your calendar this week? Right? Let's like get honest here. How many are there? And our recommendation is 2 a day. 2 a day, 2 half-hour networking conversations. Seems pretty reasonable, right? That's 10 a week. That's 40 a month.
Wow.
That's a flywheel.
Damn.
That's
how
a flywheel.
Quickly that adds up. Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, 2 a day. I'm like, listen, you could fart around scrolling on social media for 2 hours a day.
And they do.
Or
we all
1
do.
hour a day. 1 hour a day. Come on. You're working out for 1 hour a day. You're, like that's a priority.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like mess around, but that's intel. That's a flywheel. Yep. That's a swordfish.
Brilliant.
1 a week, not.
You're
not
enough.
Not gonna have enough to be able to assess what's working, what's not working, and you can't expect those referrals to come in and people to build trust without that continuity. You're going to get better. They're going to get better. You're going to be able to really use your time more effectively. Because most networking calls, I always like bring my coffee cup to these things, right? Drinking more coffee, right? And then they go, oh, nobody, I'm networking, but I don't have any referrals.
Yeah. I mean, so much of it really is a numbers game. And I think it's brilliant what you're suggesting, which is that people actually put some goals around it. They're gamifying it. I mean, the way you gamify it seems like most everything, right, in your life. And if you do that, if you set those goals, you're more likely to have the outcomes that you want to see ultimately. And it's going to take a little grit. It's going to take a little gumption. It's going to make you a little uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, what you're going to come out with is not only hopefully a brand spanking new job that is the kind you want, but also like a bunch of more people in your life, which is going to be great, and reconnections with people from your past. And that is really just incredibly special if you peel it all back. And even if something doesn't come directly out of one conversation, you never know what the future might hold for you just because you did have that
There's
one discussion. Right?
Yeah. I see all the time. Like just as a side note, I don't know how many rejections I've gotten from TEDx. And you know what? I'm like so excited for the next one because it just brings me closer to whatever it is. And I've been just like, I'm hyping myself up. I'm just like, I don't really care because it's going to happen. I'm like, I don't really care because it's just going to happen. And that kind of certainty, because I'm still taking the action underneath. My feet are still working, right? I'm not just like,
just waiting for that TEDx call. No, you have to go for it. Like you have to be intentional.
Give me a ring. Not happen.
Right. I love that. And so many people shy away from putting the effort in because of the fear of rejection or the fear of failure. And you're never going to get what you want if you don't go for it. And you have to go for it multiple times. Most people don't get it on the first try.
We're like face plant queens.
Yeah, the face plant queens. Wow, please put that on my tombstone. Face plant queen.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love your energy and I love all the insights that you deliver just on the daily. And today, I mean, my mind is blown with all the different things that you shared, and I can't wait for everybody to hear this. But one thing we haven't really talked about overtly yet is your activism against ageism and how you have come out there as this advocate for people embracing who they are, embracing the journey of life and aging. And I just want you to share a little bit about how you started speaking out about the ism that gets literally everybody.
I really, have learned so much from you and so many others that are literally chomping at the bit and sharing so much information because ageism isn't going away. And what I started noticing, it actually came kind of at that junction where I was hearing this over and over and over and over again at every prospecting call that I was having. And I'm worried about ageism, and I'm worried about ageism, and I'm worried about ageism. And I mean, I even had somebody in the early days when I was starting to hear it say, and you know what? I have ageism.
Yeah.
As if it were, like
A
they got
disease.
measles,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, wow, like, thanks for sharing that. Like, kind of like, who doesn't, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and I posted this not long ago, right? No matter what age you are, there is another ism for it, right?
Mm.
There's always an ism.
Yep.
And so as ageism, as you know, right, just isn't just for older people. It's
Nope.
also younger ism and all other kinds of isms that are related to that look ism,
Mm.
like
So irritating.
it's endless. But what has happened for me is that I've started to realize that even though I was focusing on this executive group, underlying it was this constant threat of age. And since these folks need to, in many ways, have an upgrade like the way that Brad did, it started becoming more and more and more prevalent and necessary to talk about, because a lot of folks have been resisting going into the market because they have been hearing, which is not untrue, that they won't be hireable. That they won't be hireable because of their age. And what I also have come to realize, and this goes back to the experience piece, is that your added years are not adding up to added value. And you can do something about that. We need to make sure that while ageism is rocking it and alive and well, that your value can supersede that. And a lot of folks don't necessarily understand how to do that, because a lot of these catchphrases, they're just so not only overused and diluted, we don't know how to actually put them into practice. And so I started, doing more and more exploring, and as you talked about too, a lot of reframing around this, so that people could see it from a different lens and also be able to identify with themselves in this situation and provide hope.
I love that. And
And
I feel
so,
like you,
yeah, what I wanted to just say is that I'm going to give this to you and your audience, because I think it's kind of like the one that's going to make me like get all teary. So I use the acronym for HOPE as hearing other people's experiences. And in hearing other people who have overcome a lot of these pieces, it allows permission for, and you can too.
I love that. I love that. And you do that so beautifully. I mean, you're out there showing how many years old are you, Loren? 60? Just hit the big 60. You're showing what 60 looks like in 2025. And it doesn't look like the way we conceived of it, because we've all been fed these ageist stereotypes our entire lives. It does not look the way we think it does. And I love that you're out there loudly proclaiming that. It's brilliant. And we all should be able to age the way in which we want to. We should all be able to live the way in which we want to. And everybody's looks different. And reshaping the narrative internally is the first step, right? And we all have so much work to do on that. But I think when we can find examples of people doing it in this emboldened, liberated way, like you are, it sets the rest of us up for success. It sets the rest of us up to be liberated from those constraints and to actually show up the way we want to. So I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I love what we're all doing, because I always feel so welcomed and included by you, and saying, this is gonna take a lot of muscle,
It
and
is.
And I am 100% all in on this
You're
one.
in. You're all in.
Not just from the demographic perspective, but also really from the perspective of all of the maybe even invisible arms saying, like, listen, like, I have so much juice and gas in this tank. I want to be working. I get to, if I know how to do that. And there's nothing in my world that says that you can't. And a lot of our clients are well into their 60s. I think that our oldest one was 66. And so there's no retirement plan for that person. And there isn't for me either.
Well, I don't want you to ever stop. So keep on doing what you're doing. You're such a light, and you've delivered so many insights that I know this audience is going to be absolutely craving to hear more from you. So where can my audience go and find you?
Absolutely. So I often say LinkedIn is my second address. Uh, because I do live there. I love this platform so much. And as a former career recruiter, I spent a lot of time here on the back end, algorithmically understanding that. And more so over the past 5 years now, working like the Dickens to improve my content. So this is a work in progress. I'm no
We all
Maureen,
are.
but at the same
Oh,
time,
please.
I just really, really, I do love writing, and I do really love to position anything that I am doing so that it benefits you. And so I live on LinkedIn. And also, I have my podcast called Career Blast and a Half. And so I created this really to call bullshit on outdated career advice and blow the lid off of that. So please listen
It's a
to
great
that.
show.
Bring in some guests, lots of ahas,
Mm,
and
agreed.
it's not my full-time day job, but it is a huge passion project, and I'm going with it.
That passion comes through. You have excellent guests and really cool subjects, and I love it. So people should definitely go check it out. And I can't wait to see you on the TEDx stage, and I know it's going to happen soon. So more from Loren coming soon for sure.
Maureen, forever generous. And like I said, you really are like a muse to me and sister from
Oh,
another mister. Thank you for everything that you're doing on so many levels. And I learned so much from you, and I just want more. I'm just going
oh.
to raise my hand and say, I want more.
I feel the exact same way about you. I have so much gratitude for what you're doing. I think it is tremendous. You are a force, you are a light, and I want way more from you too. So
All
good
right.
thing we have your podcast and
More
LinkedIn.
party.
So
Yes.
more coming. But thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to share this with all the people who listen to It Gets Late Early.
Yeah. All right.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much.